Hi, this is Abdul Bharti, and we are here at the Oracle Open World and Oracle Code One conference. And today we have with us Chad Arimura from Oracle. First of all, tell us, what do you do at Oracle?
Well, I am the VP of Serverless at Oracle, and I focus on a few things, primarily helping deliver the FN project, which is an open source project we launched at Oracle last year formerly known as Java 1, the Oracle Function Service that we're launching on top of Oracle Cloud, as well as building community and partnerships around the FN project open source.
So can you just give us an overview, of the progress of the project within last, few months?
Yeah, so I think we talked about this maybe 7 or 8 months ago, and we've obviously made a lot of progress since then. The team at Oracle is growing I think it's doubled in size since the last time we talked. We've called the Serverless organization. The FN project has been gaining a community, a nice healthy community of contributors that are outside Oracle. We've got some partners that we've been talking to, early adopters that are using the open source project. And the team is actively working on delivering Oracle Functions, which is the managed version of FN project on top of the Oracle Cloud. And that's coming very, very soon. So we're excited to be announcing that shortly.
And what kind of community is around FN project?
Yeah, so a lot of it is early adopters. There's some larger organizations that are kicking the tires with FN project, launching it on top of Kubernetes. But we've got more and more integrations with Kubernetes because that's a target platform of ours. So we'd like to see the FN project inside maybe the CNCF as a foundation eventually. The community is nice and growing, so there's probably 15 to 20 outside contributors that are fairly active, and we're going to start growing that and amplifying that soon as we make more announcements about the direction of FN project and also the managed service as well.
And so we are here sitting at the Groundbreakers Hub. So what kind of community do you see here?
Well, obviously, this is a big developer hub inside of Open World. So not quite as many suits as you would say walking around here, more t-shirts and hoodies. And that's exciting because FN project is all about empowering developers to easily deploy functions to the cloud and kind of take away the idea of infrastructure management. And FN project fits really nicely with what Code One is doing. Because we've got lots of nice integrations with other demo stations here and some really exciting things happening.
So if you look at the hub here, and if you look at serverless, what kind of use case are you seeing from developers or the areas that they are interested in deploying it?
Well, we're seeing a lot of interest around the IoT space. So obviously that's a really low-hanging fruit because I think IoT fits really nicely with kind of asynchronous batch processing patterns. So a lot of customers are interested in that. An example of IoT is even the Code Card here project that we have launched at one of the demo stations at Code One, where you can literally walk up, take a code card with buttons on it, and you go up to a station, you plug it in, you deploy functions, and when you press the button, it actually launches functions. So you can actually change the image on the code card and do sort of natural IoT type stuff. So that's just a really easy example of how to get started using serverless and some kind of an IoT device.
Whenever a new technology comes in, security is always either the after thought or it's never a priority. So as Oracle is working on FN project, where is security in the big picture?
Yeah, there's a couple of angles to that. On one hand, the open source project is what we call container native. So anything that can be contained inside of a Docker function can be your function, or sorry, a Docker container can be your function. With that comes all of the security surface area of what's inside that Docker container. So you can plug it into all of the ecosystem of security tools like Black Duck, for example, can do container scanning for vulnerability assessment. And you can actually just work that right into your CI/CD platform and your vulnerability scanning system so that you can make security a kind of first-class citizen of your serverless deployment. Now, on the other hand, we have Oracle Functions, which is our managed service. And obviously, Oracle cares very deeply about security. So we sort of inherit a lot of the security aspects of the Oracle Cloud. So for example, we run inside your own tenancy, and we run inside a required VCN. So these are things that you get out of the box. Very, very strict level security that we require on top of Oracle Cloud. You get that with the Oracle Function Service.
And here at the hub or at the Code One, is there any project which is about security, or are you aware of any?
I'm not aware of any. I know that there's a lot of topics about security, but I'm mostly interested in how to keep your containers secure, to ensure that your code is secure, your ports are secure, the libraries that you use inside of your code itself or your functions is secure. And that's where we have an entire ecosystem of partners that are actually here at the event, all doing sort of this security analysis, vulnerability scanning. And being container native, we inherit a lot of that into the FN project. So it's really nice.
Right, and when you interact with these developers, because it's a community-run project, how concerned are they about security? I understand that, as a customer, they would be more concerned, but developers, how do they perceive security?
It's hard to say. I mean, generally, I think sometimes developers think of it as an afterthought, but that's where you want to build in the, we call them guardrails, or kind of the automated systems to ensure that they are writing secure code. For example, your function code can be just deployed to GitHub, which has its own set of vulnerability scanning. We'll check for keys. It'll ensure that like common key patterns aren't seen inside your code. You get that because your function starts with code, turns into a Docker container, and then ultimately makes it to your FN platform as a function.
And that's why I asked, because it becomes an overhead for them. They don't want to deal with that. But you have to kind of provide guardrails or gates, whatever you need.
I think that there are best practices, but for the most part, serverless is sort of taking a lot of that heavy lifting out of the developer's mindset, being able to allow them to focus on the logic of their code. So for example, the first command is fn init. Fn init gives you a function with boilerplate code all ready to be built. Then if you do fn deploy, it actually builds using one of our secure containers. And we ensure that those containers are consistently scanned, make sure that they're updated, all the patching's applied, so that when we build that container, as a developer, you don't have to worry about that stuff.
One thing with serverless or function as a service, depending on how you call it, is sometimes it gets tied to the cloud itself very much, if you look at Azure or AWS. So how are you approaching FN project? Is it agnostic to the clouds, or is it tied to Oracle Cloud?
Yeah, so a really important aspect of the FN project it is independent of the cloud provider itself. We believe in open protocols, we believe in open source, and we believe in creating the right abstractions where the community can come in and build layers to integrate with other cloud platforms. For example, I think we have some work around DigitalOcean. I think we have some work around somebody launching on top of Amazon. Now, we believe that we will be the best place to run the FN project as a managed service on top of Oracle Cloud, because with that, you get lots of native integrations with all of the other Oracle Cloud services. We'll be able to tie deeply within the other OCI services, not just the infrastructure services, but also the large portfolio of Oracle assets that we have, anything from PeopleSoft to CRM to ERP to NetSuite, kind of everything that we have. It will be a nice, elegant experience. But just the upstream FN project, completely independent, multi-cloud. You can even run it on your own servers on-premise as well, and that's one of the key differentiators of the FN project.
When you talk about things like serverless or cloud native, the answer definition changes depending on who you're talking to. So if I ask you, what is the definition of serverless according to you?
I mean, I think the industry is mostly standardizing on serverless. Generally, it means not having to worry about non-differentiated technology. For example, not having to worry about or think about infrastructure, not have to worry about patching and updating kind of operating system level stuff, not having to worry about scaling up and down infrastructure, kind of plumbing code, and also pay for what you use. So a common definition or theme of serverless is that you only pay for the time that your functions are actually running. So in general, the way I define it is developers not worrying about infrastructure and just thinking about the logic of their code. Everything else under the hood is handled. Now, the debate that we had through Twitter the other day is if you're deploying a project on top of Kubernetes and somebody at your organization has to worry about it, is it still serverless? At the end of the day, somebody has to worry about managing this stuff, whether it's a cloud provider or your own ops team. If you have your own ops team and they're managing a serverless installation for your developers, then at the end of the day, it's still serverless.
But at the same time, serverless is not silver bullet. It's not, just the way we look at evolution of. So it's not like you can suddenly replace all your applications with, function as service.
Right.
There are certain use cases where it makes sense. What are those?
I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of like IoT type use cases, mobile applications, sort of mobile backends, a lot of batch processing, cron like plumbing stuff that can be easily migrated over. Probably the easiest place to get started is what serverless does is create this nice, elegant integration experience with other services. So for example, if you're using a cloud provider's managed service, it'll be integrated with your infrastructure APIs, your VCNs, your servers. So every time you launch a server, you can spin up a function to kind of do some processing on that server. So very like DevOpsy tasks, or even like a new object inside of an object storage can trigger a function. So now you have, for example, image processing or video encoding or CSV type processing or report generation or PDF generation. These are just nice low-hanging fruit use cases for serverless.
From your perspective, what is the biggest challenge in terms of adoption of serverless? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I think that the industry just is now starting to, it's starting to realize the importance of a DevOps culture. It's starting to understand the importance of CI/CD as it relates to shipping software, software velocity, deployment velocity, developer productivity. And so I think we sort of, as an industry, it feels to me like it just got used to CI/CD and sort of DevOps culture, and there's still a big shift towards this, and then the tooling catches up, or maybe the tooling drives it. I'm not sure. They kind of go in this cycle. But now we're saying, hey, use containers, use serverless, and the tooling and the ecosystem and the culture is now trying to catch up to where the vendors or sort of the hype is telling you where to go with serverless. So your question is, what are one of the challenges of adoption today? Well, if you spin up a function, how do you work that into your CI/CD tool set? How do you work that into your current cultural deployment model? Like, these are some of the gaps I'm seeing today. I mean, of course, with FN, it's like super freaking simple. FN init, FN deploy, FN invoke. But now you actually want to work that into your current deployment model, and there's a few kind of hurdles that you have to get over. So these are the types of things that I think the industry as a whole is trying to address, including partners, ecosystem, event speakers, vendors, etc.
You mentioned CI/CD, and CI/CD is becoming very critical. I was at Spinnaker Summit, and I think Oracle has also. So can you talk about your relationship either with the Spinnaker project, or which CI/CD you are choosing?
Yeah, well, Oracle cares a lot about the CNCF stack, including Kubernetes. I think FN project, it would be a natural place for the FN project. We have contributors at Oracle that are contributing back to the core of Kubernetes. We have an Oracle Kubernetes Engine service that's a managed service on top of OCI. So we're also a platinum member of the CNCF. So that's a very sort of, it's a very big investment for Oracle to put into open source software and open source communities. So you asked about Spinnaker and Spinnaker Summit. Spinnaker is kind of the modern CI/CD for container deployment or on top of Kubernetes or sort of serverless deployment. Server deployment. So they give you things like Canary and blue-green deployments and all that. Our relationship is that all of these things start to drive forward into offering a end-to-end solution for customers. We're not there yet because even using Spinnaker with serverless is difficult. I tried to get it to work with Istio and FN. I did a demo at DevOps last year. It works, but it's super hacky today. So there are lots of options that are trying to address this space. Spinnaker, I think, is one option. Jenkins X is another option. Our own CI/CD platform Worker that Oracle owns is another option. So there's lots of attempts at this, and I think that the industry is going to start to push this forward pretty quickly now in the next year.
I think now I've covered all the points that I wanted to talk about. Before we wrap up, one last question is that, what do you do in your free time? What fun stuff you do when you're not working on technology?
I mostly spend it with my family. So my wife and my dog currently, and we play a lot of tennis, and I run a lot. It keeps me sane, I think. A lot of people have their like sort of meditative activities. Running and tennis are sort of those for me. But we take lots of walks with our dog, and that's where I think I spend a majority of my free time, if I'm not traveling or talking about serverless or something.
And this is something you can do anywhere. Wherever, even when you're traveling for the event, you can always do that.
I can walk anywhere.
Exactly.
I just hope that I can have my wife with me when I do it, because that's always interesting.
Chad, thank you so much for talking to me today. And of course, we'll see you again in the next conference. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having me.